following program is brought to you by the Internet Broadcasting Organization.
Good morning. Sorry, we're running a little late this morning. Welcome to 2 Cent Sports and Entertainment. I'm your host, Scuba. On the other side of the glass from me is our producer and co-contributor, the coach, dressed to the nine today.
Thank you. I figured I would dress up a little professional today. I figured this was the day to do it.
Because the tux wasn't enough last night.
No, it wasn't.
For those of you not in the know, our young buck here went to his very first prom. He's all grown up.
I am all grown up.
But I have a feeling he may fall asleep at the wheel today, so I'm going to have to keep him on his toes.
I did. I am extremely tired. I didn't get home until about 4 or 5 o'clock.
Way past your bedtime, young man.
Oh, man. Great night, though.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hated both of my proms. So
I worked on that dance floor, let me tell you.
I don't even want to know.
Oh.
Some images just can't be taken.
Ouch.
Oh, of your mind.
Was that the unofficial sponsor,
It's
Monster?
the unofficial sponsor, Monster. Had a popper open. But anyway, welcome. I hope you're all listening. Well, obviously, if you're talking to me or listening to me, you are listening. So, happy Mother's Day to everybody. And we will doing our show anyway today. And hopefully that you are listening, and we'll have a fine Mother's Day therefore after. We had the draft this week finally. We had our draft show last week. Hope you listened to that and got a little bit of insight from our wonderful knowledge of NFL football.
I'm sorry. Remember, folks, I loved doing that last week, and I'm going to keep doing it, even though the draft's over.
It is over, finally.
Exactly.
Finally, today will be the day after the draft where undrafted individuals start getting signed free agent deals, and getting invites to camp and so forth. So we'll kind of run through, the draft, and we'll obviously touch specifically, on our local teams. Or if you want to call in, I'm going to let Zach take over that and share your thoughts on your team or whatever team you want to talk about.
Yeah, that's right. If you guys would like to call in on any topic discussed today, the Bucks, anything else, anything pertaining to the draft, blah, blah, blah.
It doesn't have to be Bucks. If you happen to be out of the area, it can be obviously whatever team you want.
Right.
We'll do
you
our best
can you can ask me questions about my prom. 813-639-8255, the phone number. I just blasted it right up in front of your face, Steve.
Yes, you did. 813-639-8255 is the number to call in. Of course, if you do not choose to call in, and you can always post on our Facebook page, 2 Cent Sports and Entertainment, and we answer, and we are monitoring, and I do have it in front of me. So if you do want to pop on a question there, that's fine. Or you can throw a twat at Zach. And
at 2 Cent Zach.
That's it.
By the way, thank you real quick to our sponsors, Mike, Bootash, and Donovan right behind you.
Yes, that is the Bootash and Donovan call-in hotline.
That's right. And we also have Tech Media Partners, which I will be doing their commercial later today.
Yes, and of course, if you would like to be a sponsor of the show as well, you can get in touch with us, or if you have a band that you're in and you have some music you'd like us to play, obviously we've promoted a couple bands on this show, and we were more than happy to do that for you.
And I believe it's a congratulations to Stillchild, correct? Were they finally signed?
They did. They officially signed We featured them a couple weeks ago, and we've been playing their music as part of our intro, actually, today. They did officially sign with a label last Saturday. I think we mentioned it last Sunday, but just in case I hadn't, I wanted to mention it again. So congratulations to them. So before we get into the NFL draft, there were some little side stories that kind of occurred this week. I figured to kind of touch on the smaller stuff first. I was going to start with something else, but it's kind of NFL related, so I'm going to kind of transition. We can talk about the baseball thing. Being specific, we almost had another no-hitter this week. Seems like Yu Darvish likes to flirt with these no-hitters, but just can't ever seem to finish one off. Now, this was against the Red Sox the other night. Now, there was some controversy with regards to this no-hitter. I mean, ultimately, it ended up, I guess you could say it ended up working out in the end. But I found it awful hilarious. I happened to have it on MLB Network. And Harold Reynolds, former major leaguer, second baseman Harold Reynolds, and former pitcher Mitch Williams, who both obviously work for that network, were just going at it tooth and nail against each other, arguing one way or the other. Basically what had happened, folks, is there was David Ortiz of the Red Sox popped up a ball, and it was one of those, it was into right field, but it was just over the second baseman's head, so either one could get it. Now, in this situation, it's the outfielder's job to call off the infielder once the infielder gets a little bit more deep than their normal playing position. It's just an easier catch for the outfielder coming in than as an infielder going out. And there was just some really bad miscommunication in the call on the play. At any rate, Rios, the outfielder, backed off, and at that time, the second baseman, and you'll have to forgive me, I can't think of who the second baseman is right now for the Rangers, thought that he was being called off, and then he realized that the Rios had held up. Then he tried to make a dive at the ball at the last minute, and the ball dropped in between them. End of no-hitter, correct? That was the seventh inning, I believe, that occurred in. Well, after about 15 minutes or so, the official scorer, which is some arbitrary figure up in a booth that determines whether or not hits are errors, and makes that decision. So after about 15 minutes, they determined that was an error. Now, to the layman's eyes, and those unfamiliar with baseball rules, you're thinking, well, that's a hit. No hitter is gone, because it fell in between the two defenders, or the outfielder and the second baseman. So what happened? They ruled it an error on the right fielder, Rios. So that's the controversy. Was it a hit or was it an error? And that's what Mitch Williams and Harold Reynolds were arguing about. It was really quite entertaining, in fact, because Harold Reynolds was getting fired up. Of course, he is a former second baseman, and in his opinion, it was a hit. And Mitch Williams was like, no, it's an error. Now, Mitch Williams is a pitcher, so of course that's making Harold, I think, a little bit more riled up as well, because it's like, you never played the field, you don't know. But technically, Mitch Williams was correct, because it was an error. I'm not going to read the baseball definition. It's Rule 10.37 something or rather. I don't know, some goofy rule number in baseball that it doesn't always, look, a ball doesn't always have to hit off a player or hit a player's glove or anything like that for it to be determined an error. An error can be defined as a simple play, or a play that is deemed to be a very routine play. And in this case, honestly, it should have been a routine catch by the right fielder. There shouldn't have been this kind of miscommunication to begin with. Therefore, that's why they ended up giving the error to the right fielder, Rios. Well, Harold Reynolds was like, well, it dropped between the two. Neither one of them, you don't know if he's really going to catch it or not. It didn't hit off anybody. How could it be how's it an error? And they were just going back and forth. And then, of course, they popped the official rule up there. Mitchell, I'd say I hear the official rule. And Harold wanted nothing to do with it. He wanted nothing to do with it. And in fact, he got so fired up and he went so far as to say it was the worst call in Major League Baseball history. Major League Baseball history, folks. I mean, Harold Reynolds had the gall to go ahead and say this. Now, his defense of that statement, even though when he got called out on it, he said, I'm sure fans in St. Louis would argue, the Don Decatur call, Urbaldo got a perfect game called against him for a blown call by an umpire, but Harold's everything that was being said. Harold was like, those are instantaneous decisions being made by an umpire who are human. He said this was a call that a person upstairs had 15 minutes to review and think about it and think about it and think about it, and he chose to give it an error. He said that's the worst call because it wasn't a judgment call at an instantaneous judgment call where you had to have a call right then and there, and it was just hilarious. So I have to go with the side of, I don't know. I can go either way on it, to be honest with you. It really should have been caught either way. The fact that it did fall in between them, you almost got to say, hey, that's a hit. Just because in any other given circumstance, for the most part, that's generally what's going to happen. If two guys are standing there and the ball falls in, they generally do give the guy a hit. So, where do you draw the line of that being a hit or not a hit? But anyway, 2 innings later, 9th inning, 1 out to go. Yu Darvish, they're still getting credit for a no-hitter, 8 2/3. He's got one more batter to go, and it's David Ortiz again. And Fat Poppy popped it through the infield for a single. The no-hitter was gone. Yu Darvish is pulled, and then Rangers end up winning. So the no-hitter went away either way. So it ended up, not mattering in the end. But for pure entertainment value, that was interesting controversy and just funny to listen to those guys. So that was interesting. Now, I don't know if Zach saw any of that or not. I think he's napping right now.
No. I'm actually looking for the video of it so we can play it for the viewers who didn't see it.
Oh.
I did not see it either. That's why I'm probably having such a difficult time finding it.
Did you Google Harold Reynolds, Mitch Williams no-hitter?
Thank you.
Try something like that. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that'd be where I'd start. But honestly, it's not really like a short clip. I mean, this argument between these two went on for segment. I mean, it was. I mean, they just would not stop. But anyway, I found that quite interesting.
Well, if I can find it, we'll play it at a break or something.
Yeah, exactly. So that was interesting anyway, I felt, and other than that, really, there hasn't been too much going on this week. I think almost all focus has been, on the draft. Mm-hmm. There was a UFC Fight Night last night. Now, somehow Zach seems to have seen it, although he was supposed to be at his prom, so I'm not really sure how he saw it, or if you just if you just read what happened.
No, I saw it. I was I was at the prom till about 11, and then I left and went home for a little bit, saw all the fights, and then went out to party a little bit more. Mm. So I saw our homeboy who was on our show about a month and a half ago, mm-hmm. Darren Cruikshank, knocked the living shiznit out of Eric Koch.
Out of what?
Cock. You think I'm kidding?
It's Koch.
No, it's Cock.
No, it's not.
Yeah, listen, you want me to? I'm going to pull up a video of them saying it last night. They called him Cock.
Well, that doesn't mean that's how it's pronounced.
Oh, well, Mr. Cock got a nice roundhouse kick to the face, fell to the ground,
which is actually Cruikshank's signature move.
Correct. And Darren did a roundhouse kick right to Cock's face and just knocked the hell out of him. Are you laughing at me?
Yeah.
Why?
You're just funny.
That's how the guy last night said. I mean, look. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
It was UFC Fight Night.
UFC Fight Night.
Joe Rogan wasn't there.
I know.
And Beautiful Ariani wasn't there.
Well, it's because it's the Fight Night. It's not the main events and
right.
stuff. But we had Darren Cruikshank on few weeks back. Maybe it's probably been a couple months now.
Yeah.
But we had him on, and we already knew that this fight was coming up, and I take full responsibility for I honestly just forgot about it. Being on, I had hockey playoffs. I was tuned in. Yes, exactly. Boston Bruins. Thank you very much. Won. But anyway, I did want to see his fight. I'll probably watch a replay of it later. But we did have Darren on here, and it was a very good interview, and it was a pleasure to him taking time to talk to us. But yes, he did win. He improved his UFC record to 4-2, 3 of them by knockouts. And Koch drops to 1-1, and he maybe needs to go back down to his regular division. But anyway, other than that, the rest of the fights on the card were pretty much a who's who of who are you, except for maybe Matt Brown. He's starting to take notice now in the welterweight division. He doesn't have the greatest record in the world, but as of late, since coming back from his back injury, he's actually been quite well, and people are starting to take notice of him. So, be interesting. And he beat Eric Silva last night, and he was not expected to win that fight. So, some interesting things taking place in the welterweight division. Now, I have this season's UFC fighter on my DVR. Have not had a chance to watch it yet, so I don't know what's going on there. So I'll have to start getting caught up.
Now that's the one with Silva and Sonnen, right?
No, that one actually that was actually the one that they're showing. I think that one they're doing that one's in Brazil or it's in another country. That one's in a different country.
Okay, because I hope Silva knocks the living. I hope he breaks Sonnen's face, because Chael Sonnen is the greatest talker in the world, but his record does not back it up at all.
Hey, but he'll fight anybody at any time too.
Yes, he will.
He's proven that, and I gotta respect a guy that'll do that. He'll take on all comers, and he'll do it at a last minute notice if he has to, and he has. So. I like him, but no, it's not that one. That one's a different season. But anyway, but other than that, I mean, there's really not been too much going on in sports. Like I said, most of the focus this weekend, unless you're a Premier League fan or something like that, for which I am not, there's not really a whole lot going on. Most focus has been going on to the NFL draft, which, by the way, Thursday night, obviously was the first round, and the overnight numbers as far as viewership for Thursday night's round 1 of the NFL draft, the viewership numbers on that outviewed any World Series game in the last 4 years. An NFL draft outdid a World Series. Can you believe that?
I think it's awesome.
Well, no, it just goes to show the magnitude of and the power that the NFL has right now, and how much of a dying sport that baseball really is. Mm-hmm. I ultimately think that the NFL is going a little bit too far.
With the amount of draft days that they have?
Well, not just the amount of draft days. They're just the overabundance of exposure they're trying to do in general. You've got now you used to have like Thursday night games towards the end of the year. Now they have Thursday night games throughout the season, which their whole one, which kind of irks me in another way, because one of the things they always continue to tell you is that they're trying to invent rules and things of that to protect the players and so forth and so on. Yet they have these guys playing on Thursday night are playing on a Sunday, and then 4 days later having to play another game on a Thursday. I mean, you don't have time to recover from a game on Sunday. You're probably just getting to the point of recovery on Thursday, and then you got to go run back out there again. So tell me how that's beneficial to the safety for your players. You don't care about the safety of your players. You care about getting sued again.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear it.
Well, and I don't like Roger Goodell. I think Roger Goodell is literally just running this league, just like you said, pretty much to cover his ass. Give me a break.
He's doing it to cover his ass.
Concussions happen.
Yeah, the ultimate goal of this league is to they're going to saturate it so bad that I think eventually people are going to get sick and tired of it. I mean, that's why there's been talk about expanding it to 18 games from 16, which, quite honestly, I'm in favor of that as long as they drop 2 preseason games. I think if you do that, there shouldn't be an issue. I think if you want to keep 4 preseason games and add 2 regular season games, well, then I probably have I do have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I think they need to drop 2 preseason games and go ahead and go to an 18-game schedule. But that's a whole other issue as well. But you got that. Now, instead of just having 1 game played over in London, they have, I think, was it 3 or 4?
I think it's I don't know.
3 or 4. I know there's at least 3. It may be maybe 4. I'm not sure. But either way, now they're doing like 3 or 4 games over in London right now. And the fact that they continue to even flirt with the idea of having a team actually in London is just asinine. It's just it's just the dumbest idea ever. It's not fair to the players. I mean, you look at any of the teams that ever travel over for these London games, they are never the same afterwards. Almost never the same afterwards. They usually most of them usually struggle for the rest of the year. It's just one of those things. The travel is just ridiculous.
Yes.
And it's just not conducive. It's not right. It's not fair. And then the teams that have to play in those games over there right now, they're losing a home game. The Bucks have been a victim of it a couple times now, and which I guess is fine for me as a season ticket holder. It's one less ticket I have to purchase. But at the same time, it's also one less home game I get to attend. It worked out a couple years ago when they actually played the Patriots over there. So, being a Patriots fan, I almost hate it when the Patriots have to come here to play a game because it's like I hate cheering against them. But because I am a Bucks fan first, because I do live here and I am a season ticket holder, that's what I got. That's what I have to do.
Yeah, and I'm with you 100%. I mean, it's I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, you got, it's just all these different ideas. You got an expanded draft over the course of a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday now. Now you've got a Thursday night game every week. Your slew of Sunday games, and of course you got your Sunday night games. You got your Monday night game. They do the occasional Saturday night games later in the year. So it's just, what's next? The whole point there was at one point a rule or something out there that said, you couldn't compete up against the college or high schools. And so the way they got around that is doing Thursday night and Sunday, Monday, because traditionally high schools generally, at least in this area, play on Fridays. Where I came from, they actually played on Saturdays. But then you got college, you got the college on Saturdays. But when you start putting NFL games on those days, which, I wouldn't be surprised they start doing that too, it's not fair to, the high school product and the college product that you're trying to, draw into your league as well. So the NFL just needs to step back. They need to slow down. You're huge now, and quite honestly, the best thing that ever happened to the NFL was fantasy football. If you really want to know why the NFL is as popular as it is, it's because of fantasy football.
Wow, and I've never even thought about that.
Honestly. Yeah, without fantasy football, how many people, in leagues and stuff that you might have been involved in or are involved in, how many of those people really, for the most part, may not know anything about football, or at least at one point didn't know anything about football?
Quite a bit.
Specifically females. And this isn't a knock on females. There's plenty of women out there that I know, and my wife likes football and stuff. They know something about football, so that's not really what I'm getting at. But there are a lot of women out there that have gotten into these fantasy leagues that, at least at one point, really didn't know a whole lot about football, or at least were maybe a casual observer of it. Now I see them getting into it just as much. And being in fantasy football, you then change your focus from perhaps liking just one team to maybe starting to get an affection for another team, just simply because you end up following some of their players so much that you start watching their games, you almost can't help but not like them. For me, I always liked watching football, but the fantasy football aspect is, God, I'm having a hard time this morning. I'm trying to speak faster than I'm thinking. The fantasy football aspect of it, actually, for me, gives me more of a reason and more of an interest to maybe watch a game that, for the most part, if you looked at it, would be like, who the heck wants to watch that game? You know, maybe a Browns versus the Raiders game or something like that. In all offense intended there.
Well, apparently tons of people want to watch it now since Johnny quote football.
Well, and that's just it. Forget that aside, and we'll get into that, after the break. But, normally, lately, who would want to watch a Browns-Raiders game? Well, someone that has Browns or Raiders players going in their fantasy league. That's what's going to draw you to even want to care or watch that game. And that's what it is for me. So now games I normally don't think I would have an interest in, I'll watch simply because I have a vested interest in some aspect or another. When I'm at the Bucks games, I pull up other games on my little pad or my phone and keep a tab on what's going on with them. And I know people all around me, they may not be bringing the games up, but they're looking at their fantasy scores and seeing what's going on. And in fact, even in the stadiums now, they one section of this the jumbotrons, they actually post fantasy stats.
Yes,
that's how big it is. So the NFL needs to really be careful, and don't just think that a lot of people are just watching the product because it's great to watch, which it is. I honestly, I still prefer college football because a lot of the more rules they keep putting in for the NFL, the worse I think the product is starting to become. And you're also starting to see the fall off of the running back. The running back's becoming almost an unimportant aspect of NFL games anymore. In fact, this draft was a perfect example of that. That they just, for the first time in the NFL draft history, a running back was not taken until, I think, pick 57. That's the latest ever. I think the latest ever before that was like 38, something like that. I don't know the exact number, but 57 was the first running back taken in this draft this year. It's the latest running back's ever been taken in the history of the NFL draft. However, conversely, once running backs did start getting picked, there were actually turned out to be more running backs selected in this draft than there had been in the previous four. So, it is what it is. But I think right now what you're starting to find is that many of these teams are not getting necessarily that workhorse running back. They're looking for that tandem type pair that they can, put got situational backs, a Darren Sproles type, if you will, or a guy that you can put in on a third down situation. And again, we'll talk more specifically about that because the Bucs seem to have done something along those lines. So you're not getting the Steven Jackson workhorse running backs selected now anymore. You're not, I think especially last year when you had like a Trent Richardson, or the year before that, was probably one of the last ones that was selected that way. But not a single running back taken until pick 57, which is deep into or not even until the third round, or almost the third round. So that ought to tell you something about the direction of this league, as if we didn't already know it was pass heavy to begin with. It's just becoming increasingly so, and which is a little bit disturbing because honestly, there's still two aspects of the NFL that still work and are still proven winning combinations, and that's having a strong running game and having a strong defense. Okay, you can't argue otherwise. You can say what you will about the Denver Broncos offenses and the Patriots offenses of recent last few years, but let me tell you something: who ultimately won it all? Patriots but up until last year, had the greatest offense probably in the NFL. Got beat by a 10-6 team, but had a great defense and really a grounded out running game. Last year, same thing. Broncos broke all those Patriot records and had what is now probably the greatest offense in the NFL history, and absolutely got annihilated by a team with what? Pretty great running game and a dang good defense. Those, I believe, are still two solid combinations that are going to win you football games more than just trying to outscore your opponents. You know, the one thing about the Patriots is when the Patriots won their first 3 Super Bowls, yes, they had Tom Brady, but Tom Brady wasn't the Tom Brady you've seen over probably the last 8 years or so. He was a different Tom Brady. He was still effective, still a solid quarterback, still put up decent numbers, but the Patriots weren't built on a huge offense. If you really look at when the Patriots won those Super Bowls, it wasn't their offense was decent enough. It scored enough points and stuff, but they had pretty decent defenses to go along with it. The one thing they were lacking was a running game. So it was their defense, though, that won those games. And if you look at, the final scores in those, although it was ultimately Brady and his offense coming down at the last second or last minutes to win a couple of them, really it wasn't because their offense was so great. It was because they had decent defense. But you look at the 2 Patriots teams that lost those 2 Super Bowls to the Giants, you could ultimately say that the Patriots they were offensively, they were powerhouses, but they had no defense. Their defense was mediocre at best and horrendous in one of those, and they got beat, pure and simple. And that's just the way it is. And even last year, you could say that a little bit about the Broncos. Their defense was a little bit shabby. It was beat up. It was a little bit old, which is also what they've revamped over this year. They got rid of about 5 or 6 players, and they brought in some new guys and drafted heavily on defense. So, but anyway, since we're already kind of transitioning in NFL talk, let's take a quick break, and we'll get warmed up. We'll come back. We'll start talking about the draft. Not slowly. We'll kind of quickly go through and touch on some teams and see how they did. We're going to obviously speak specifically about our local team, Tampa Bay, here. But we'll kind of go through each team and just maybe give a quick take or two, see how we think they did, and maybe touch on some players, because we all know what school ended up getting the most players drafted, don't we? If you do not know, come back and find out.
Hello, everyone. Zach Cooper from the 2 Cent Sports and Entertainment Show. Are you a small to medium business that can't afford your own IT department? Not sure if you are getting everything you should be from your current communication provider? Are you getting proper discounts, the maximum internet services? Are you under contract or simply have no idea or the time to look into it? Let Tech Media Partners figure it out all for you. With over 25 years of technology experience, let the experts help. They can provide you innovative ways for your company to communicate effectively in today's evolving marketplace. Let Tech Media Partners be your advocate and work for you. They can streamline the process, bypass countless hours spent on appointments meeting with multiple vendors in order to receive one quote, providing you a consultative solution based on your needs and work directly with different suppliers in order to achieve your outcome. Request a free consultation today by calling 813-443-8235. They're just as the name sounds, a technical media partner.
And tell them Zach Cooper sent you.
Yeah.
Very good, young man.
Thank you.
Off the cuff.
That was techmediapartners.com. Thomas Wilsey, thank you very much. Go ahead and check them out, techmediapartners.com.
That's right, that's right. And we, of course, appreciate their support.
And remember, if you would like to sponsor the 2 Cent Sports and Entertainment Show, go ahead and send us a direct message through Facebook, or you can just call the office number, 813-344-9964.
There you go. So we were talking some NFL, and we had the NFL draft this week, as I repeat. Now, I had headed out before the break and said that there was one particular team that had the most players drafted in the NFL. No, it wasn't Virginia Tech, Zach.
Ha ha, ha ha ha. Yeah, but then let me tell you, their quarterback went so early.
It might,
what are you doing?
Might be this team on my back.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
I could be mistaken, but I think it might be a little team called Florida State Seminoles. Had the most players drafted, and which is quite amazing that they were able to lose that much talent and still have that much talent behind them.
Yeah, I mean, remember, because you were sitting outside, I don't know what you were doing, but at the party, and I reminded you that they had 7 players taken.
Oh, they had even more after that.
Oh, did they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I stopped watching the draft because, honestly, rounds 6 and 7 mean absolutely nothing to me.
Yeah. Well, but your buddy got drafted, though, just before the draft ended.
He's not my buddy, okay? Let's stop being a little, I'm not.
Well, you like talking about it months ago when the story broke out, so I'm just, you couldn't stop talking about it, so I just thought he was your buddy.
Well, and just in spirit of Florida State having the most teams drafted, let's.
Dun, 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 dun. The warpath now, and okay, never mind. I'm not going to sing it, but at any rate,
that was funny.
I almost do want to sing it now, though.
All right, well, go ahead.
No, it's fine.
Are you sure?
No one wants to hear me sing.
They're waiting for you.
Well, I got to figure out what part okay, so fight for FSU, or for victory, the Seminoles of Florida State. I didn't know what part you were on at that point. You kept cutting it in and out, so it's hard to follow.
Well, it's because I didn't realize I was going to play that much of it. You got to fight for FSU.
You got to scalp them Seminoles. You got to win this game. Got to roll on down, and make those goals. FSU's on the warpath now. In the battles, she is great. She's so fight for victory. The Seminoles of Florida State there.
I like that.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're a beautiful audience. I'm going to buy each and every one of you a Cadillac.
That's right. I see you distracted me now, but anyway.
Way to get sidetracked.
Yeah, no, you did it on purpose. Michael Sam did end up getting drafted. Michael Sam, as many recall, or if you do pay attention at all, and of course they made overly big deal about it, of course, as the media tends to do, but he was the first openly gay player to come out for a major college football or any college football team, at least that we're aware of, and did this all obviously after the end of the football season and way before the draft. And there were a lot of questions about, would he get drafted or not? And then, of course, they had to turn the question about whether he'd get drafted or not if it had anything to do with his sexuality or sexual preferences, which it didn't. It didn't. I mean, bottom line, Michael Sam, as a football player who put up good numbers for a Missouri team, most of his numbers, the biggest numbers anyway, specifically his sack totals and so forth, came against inferior competition, meaning lesser teams. In fact, not even just bad teams in lesser divisions. That's where most of his big numbers came from, although he was co-defensive player of the year in the SEC, which is, with regards to college football, it is kind of a big deal. But again, if you look at his pure numbers, they look awesome. If you really kind of break down his numbers and see where they came, they're not as impressive. The other problem that you have with Michael Sam is his size. For his position. His position was kind of defensive, hybrid defensive end of sorts. In the NFL, he's probably a little bit small for that position. He could possibly fit into a 3-4 scheme and kind of an outside linebacker or a hybrid type position, as some teams are running right now. But then you got the second problem with Michael Sam. So even if you were to play that position, now you've got to look about how fast is he, and he's not. He's extremely a slow player. He couldn't even break under 5 in his 40 times, which a lot of people say that that's not important, but for his particular position and what type of defense he would be playing in, it is. It's kind of important. So. Those were really the questions about whether he would get drafted or not, because of his size and speed, not because of his sexual preferences. However,
well, in case you guys didn't see him get drafted, he was crying all day, and then he kissed his boyfriend, which was for some reason talked about all over the place.
Yeah, they played it constantly on there. I was like, okay, cool, nice touching moment.
Exactly.
No different than any of the other players. They continued to show, reactions and so forth when they got drafted. I mean, I'm glad they showed it. They could have chose not to do that. And it was cool. But then, like you said, then they just had to keep running it, and I'm just not sure that that was necessary. I could be wrong. Maybe it's something that needed to be done. I don't know. To me, I think everybody understands the situation. You touch on it and you move on. Now he's Michael Sam, the football player, member of the St. Louis Rams.
Yes.
Until either they cut him or whatever happens with him. In the Rams, and they had a special press conference all about it too. Just specifically about that. I mean, I'm not trying to. And pardon me while I have this nasty scratch on my back. I'm not really trying to dismiss the significance of this. I recognize the significance of it. I do. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm an advocate for lesbian and gay rights and so forth. And I have several very, very good friends that are of that category. So, again, I'm not trying to make light of it. It's just, it really shouldn't be made that much of a bigger deal. He's still a football player, and that's what we should be focusing on. And maybe I'm wrong. I think it needs to be talked about and it needs to be mentioned and so forth, but I don't know that it needs to be, beat down like a dead horse. I mean, I think they did that way prior to the rest of when he first came out. I think they talked about it enough. Why do you got to keep dragging it out
yes.
now? Or am I mistaken? Or should we be making more of a big deal about this? I don't think so, because on the surface, if you were to look at him and you didn't know any different, you wouldn't know. So he's a football player, and that's how I want to look at him, and that's how I look at him. He's Michael Sam, the football player. He's not Michael Sam, the gay football player, any more than he's Michael Sam, the black football player. He's a football player, and that's what I'm looking at, and we'll see what he does.
Yes.
We'll see if he makes a team or not. So, I mean, personally, I'm glad he got drafted. I thought that he would probably end up as a free agent signee like today or something like that. But there were a few picks left, and like you just said, the 6th and 7th round of the draft, ultimately, in some aspects, just become unimportant. Don't tell Tom Brady that. But generally, you're not. When you're getting that deep into the 7th round, you're kind of. It's like when you're picking for fantasy football, your last 3 picks or so, you're just looking at guys that barely even see the field, but you have no choice. You have to pick somebody for your bench, and you really shouldn't be spending a whole lot of time on it. So,
well, and I think that's probably why they give him only 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I know your favorite position to talk about is Mr. Irrelevant, so I'll let you talk about that one.
That's awesome. I actually just picked the picture up. Mr. Irrelevant. Coming out of Memphis, Lonnie Ballentine. How do you say it? Ballentine?
Yes.
Okay. He was a safety drafted to the St. Louis Rams. He came out of Memphis, and and this is something I didn't know. I had no clue that other than a jersey that, in my opinion, is fairly insulting by getting a jersey to wear that says Mr. Irrelevant. What perks does the Mr. Irrelevant get? I can't. Is it?
They do get something. I'm not.
Well, I know they're in a parade. I know they get. Was it? No, what money? Yeah, they do get money.
I don't know. They get something. It's goofy. Anyway, well, in case you're unfamiliar with the term Mr. Irrelevant or what that all means, and I don't want to assume that everybody does know what that is or what it means, but Mr. Irrelevant is a term that's given to the very last player picked in the NFL draft. Simply because at one point, and I don't actually believe it's true anymore. I believe that's actually finally the streak was broken, but that there was never a player that was picked last in the NFL draft that ever made an NFL roster. So basically, the idea is that if you were picked last in the draft, you were basically irrelevant because you weren't going to make a football team anyway. So therefore, there's where the term came from. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, that's not the exact history, but that's essentially.
Now, since that term has been made, has any Mr. Irrelevant made the team?
Yes, I believe so. I can't tell you exactly who it is right now off the top of my head, but I'm fairly certain that there is somebody. Because I remember hearing or seeing it somewhere, and I just don't really remember right now. But so anyway, it is what it is. Of course, back up until not too far back, the NFL draft used to go 12 rounds and not just 7. God, I can't even imagine sitting through 12 rounds of this. 7 was bad enough, but now you get a whole handful of guys that. Now, in some cases, if you're being picked that low, I'd almost rather not be selected, just simply because at that point, if you're not selected, at that point, first of all, your slotted salary is not going to be much different than if you're not selected anyway. So why not get selected and then have the opportunity to sign with whatever team you choose to sign with? Rather than a team that might pick you just simply so they can beat up on you in camp. I'd rather try to find a team, A, that I really wanted to play for and thought I could make and had a chance to win, or maybe a team that I just thought I could make and actually have a chance to play or contribute. So I think I'd rather have my options of my own rather than have somebody selected for me. But I could be wrong. I'll never know because I'll never be in that position. So, but specifically, the draft itself, we're going to talk about our home team here first, and that being the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, Zach may not be a fan, but I am, and they are our hometown team, so we need to talk about them. And the Buccaneers' first-round draft pick was a wide receiver from Texas A&M. And actually, I think before I go on, I think we may have a caller coming in. So, but the Buccaneers' first draft pick was Mike Evans, wide receiver from Texas A&M. We do have a caller here, so.
Alrighty. Caller. This is John. John, welcome to the 2 Cent Sports and Entertainment Show. How can we help you?
Hello, John?
Is
there anybody there?
I wonder if he hung up.
All right. Well, if he did, call back. I'm sure Zach had something to do with that.
Probably.
Okay. Well, please call back, John. Sorry about that. More than happy to take a call, and anybody's call for that matter. So we're going to start going through some of the draft picks. But as I was saying, Buccaneers' first round draft pick at number 7 was Mike Evans. I think that Zach and I both agreed that would probably be the Buccaneers' selection. Zach.
What?
Turn your microphone off.
My microphone was off.
No, it was not.
Oh.
I heard you talking to somebody, and I heard you banging on the table in there.
No, you didn't.
Which means everybody else on here can hear it as well.
Oops.
So, anyway, Zach and I did agree that the Buccaneers probably would take Mike Evans. We have a local radio personality here in Tampa who had a massive love for Johnny Manziel. I'm sorry it took me. I had to rephrase what I was really going to say.
I hate Johnny Manziel.
I am so glad they didn't take him. And let me tell you something right now. And I'm going to call him out because I know he's certainly not listening to the show. Tom Jones. That caller's here
He is
now.
back. John, I apologize for that. The new phone system is not working with me. How you doing, John?
I'm doing okay.
Welcome to the show, John. What can I do for you?
Well, I'd like to discuss the draft.
All right.
Tampa's picks. I mean, what do you think about the first pick they made?
Well, that's actually what we were just about to touch on, so good timing on your part. Mike Evans, I truly like the pick. Say what you will about the Buccaneers' maybe need for a quarterback. We've talked about this with previous shows. That I believe that most of all these quarterbacks were a reach as far as a first-round quarterback, and I think that ultimately we found that to be true. I'm specifically talking about Johnny Manziel because there was a lot of talk that the Buccaneers should take Manziel with their first pick. There's clearly a reason why he wasn't chosen there. There's clearly a reason why the team that ultimately picked him, Cleveland, chose not to pick him at number 4. I think the Bucs did what they had to do. Their other need was wide receiver. Mike Evans, without a doubt, after Sammy Watkins, was clearly the top receiver out there. We have another 6'5", 230-pound plus receiver to go on the opposite side of another 6'5", 230-pound receiver. I love the pick. I mean, I think the Bucs went out in this draft and they drafted a basketball team, because even if you look at their second-round pick, the tight end that they selected, same thing. He's actually even taller. He's 6'6", and
yeah, but I mean, you can't just have big guys. You need guys with hands.
They do. They do have hands, though. That's the thing. It's not only that they're big; these guys can catch the ball. I mean, you have 2 6'5" receivers and a 6'6" tight end. I mean, you don't even need somebody to burn down the field. All you got to do is just throw the ball up to these guys. I mean, if you take a look,
but these guys have to be smart enough to learn the routes and the playbooks and catch. It's not just physical attributes. These guys have to have football IQs and knowledges. You can have the best athletes and the best 5 tools, in football. But if you don't have the IQ to read the playbook, you're throwing it out the window. I think Johnny Manziel should have been with the Buccaneers.
Wow.
His IQ of football and what they need a quarterback.
Okay, but John, let me ask you this. How is Johnny Manziel the answer? And if Johnny Manziel was the answer, then explain to me how he dropped all the way down to 22, passed not only by the Cleveland Browns, who ultimately ended up getting him at number 4, but he was passed by, he was not even selected before Bortles. He was passed on other teams that needed quarterbacks as well. The Raiders didn't even take him. Minnesota Vikings passed on him twice. I mean, all these other teams that needed quarterbacks.
Actually, Johnny Manziel was the highest rated player on the Dallas Cowboys board
and they
at number 16, and they passed on him as well.
I mean, he brings a circus to them, and like.
Do you want a circus or do you want a winning football team? Yeah, but do you want a circus with the Tampa Buccaneers, or do you want a winning football team? I mean,
but you want talent. Johnny Manziel has talent.
Yeah, but he has college football talent.
And here's the thing, and let me jump in. I think Johnny Manziel is very talented. I don't think he's the answer. We have Josh McCown here at quarterback. We have Mike Glennon, who honestly did not play that bad as everyone thinks he did. And also, Johnny Manziel, in my opinion, is extremely classless.
I mean, just
Josh Freeman was.
Well, actually, Josh Freeman's numbers actually, in comparison, weren't his last season here was a mess, and a lot of that had to do also with the coaching staff. But his numbers actually comparable to his first 4 years in the league were actually better than the first 4 years of one Eli Manning that a lot of people like to think are an elite quarterback. So I'll make that argument each and every day, but it doesn't, and it didn't translate well out for him, and he is what he is.
You guys could have went out and traded got Mark Sanchez to be a quarterback, and you would have been way better off.
Mark Sanchez is a joke.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this then, John. What, in your mind, makes you think that a sophomore, a young man with 2 years college experience, is going to be a successful translation into the NFL when 21 other teams decided that he wasn't?
You mean to tell me that there has been no rookie quarterback in the last 2 years who has come and made an impact on the NFL?
Yes, but look at who those rookie quarterbacks are. They're much bigger guys, much stronger arms, and also ran pro style offenses. Johnny Manziel did not run a pro style offense. He also, a lot of the plays that he made were on the whim or of his own doing. You're not going to get away with a lot of that stuff in the NFL. He's able to make those plays in college because he's going against other college kids that aren't necessarily of NFL caliber. So
you're telling me that you need to have play by the book in college and not be creative when you're on the field and not be able to react what's happening? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, John, here's the thing: we have a new offensive coordinator in Jeff Tressman. And Tedford. Jesus, where did I get Tressman from?
Know.
Oh, the story I'm reading. But anyway, we have Jeff Tedford in there now, and the offense that he's trying to run does not fit Johnny Manziel. It fits a Josh McCown. It fits a Mike Glennon. It fits, if you want to take a quarterback, it fits a J. McCarron or Mettenberger. It doesn't fit a running quarterback. We are trying to build a line to where our quarterback can set up in a pocket and throw the ball and not have to scramble around.
How many Super Bowls has this system has he won?
Has who won?
Your offensive coordinator.
He's not been in the NFL before, so that's kind of
just like Johnny Manziel.
No, it's not. No, but if you're not, listen. Here's one thing you don't understand. You can have all.
You just said that college doesn't work in the pro game.
That's not what. No, that's not. No.
Game is going to work.
No, what I said is his improvisation of plays like he has gotten away with in college will not work in the NFL. In other words, him scrambling to the
offensive coordinator from college, with the college being successful at the college level, just like you said, for college players, he won't be successful in the NFL because against college players.
There's a difference. You're mixing two different ideas and ideals.
You just contradicted yourself.
No, I didn't, John. Listen to me, John. Here's the difference. An offensive coordinator from college, he still runs an offense that has designed plays. What Johnny Manziel, and what I'm talking about Johnny Manziel doing, is he has a set play, but that play breaks down, so he then scrambles around and he makes something else happen that's not part of the game plan. That is completely different.
What happens with the offensive coordinator when his plays break down and he doesn't have somebody who's creative enough or athletic enough to make the plays work? That means his offensive scheme is in the crapper. You're contradicting yourself.
No, I'm not contradicting myself. You got to understand, within each offensive system, you have to have a particular style quarterback that can run that particular system. You can't just plug in any quarterback in any situation. There are statistics.
But you also said that a college quarterback cannot make it in the NFL.
That is not what I said.
And here's the thing:
that is not what I said.
Why would we say that when they're each and every quarterback that plays in the NFL has played college football?
I did not say a college quarterback couldn't make it in the NFL. What I said.
That Johnny Manziel's tricks won't work.
Correct. That doesn't. Yes, that is exactly what he said, but that doesn't mean that any college quarterback will not work in the pros.
Right.
Right, but then you have a guy who has no experience in a pro game and has a college game from some creaky college who played against college players. Did he win a national title with this offense?
Would you tell me if Aaron Rodgers is a pretty decent quarterback or not?
Wait a minute, I'm the one who's asking the questions.
Wait a minute, but it's my show, and I'm going to answer your question, but I want you to answer something for me first, and I'll answer your question. You're going to answer your own question if you answer mine. You're going to answer your own question if you answer mine first. Is Aaron Rodgers a good quarterback?
I don't know anything about Aaron Rodgers.
Then you don't know anything about football, because Aaron Rodgers is like a Pro Bowl football player for the Green Bay Packers, and guess who worked with him? The offensive coordinator for Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Now, what I'm going to ask you again is, has the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won a college title?
Does he have to?
I'm just asking questions, yes or no.
Has Johnny Manziel won a national title in college?
You're not answering my question.
I said no. I said no. I said no. He hasn't. Does he? I said no. Does he have to?
On a title.
No. And does he have to?
So then, how will his game work in the pros?
Okay, I got it. Listen.
There's 293 college football teams. Only one team can win a national title. That doesn't mean that teams don't run pro-style offenses in college. The University of California runs a pro-style offense.
Let me rephrase that for you. How many bowl games has he won with this offense?
I'd have to go back and look at the University of California's record, and I could tell you that I don't have that stuff in front of me.
You don't know.
I'm not an encyclopedia, John. I'm not an encyclopedia.
Wait, time out. Hold on. So what you expect him to know is how many bowl games Jeff Tedford has won in college, yet you don't know who Aaron Rodgers is. Explain that one to me.
I know, of course, who Aaron Rodgers is.
Okay, but you don't know anything about it.
You guys aren't answering the question. You're burying Johnny Manziel because you're on the Johnny Manziel bandwagon. And then you guys are asking about the offensive coordinator.
Here's the thing.
When he has a winning program. He doesn't have a winning program, and you can't even tell me how many bowls he finished. How many games, how many national titles does he have?
Why does he have to have a national title to be a successful offensive coordinator?
You have to, but you're not winning anything.
Okay.
And when so Johnny Manziel hasn't won anything either as a college quarterback.
Did he win the Heisman Trophy?
Okay, and
I think that's a pretty big
Gino Toretta won a Heisman Trophy for the University of Miami. How successful was his NFL career?
I think that was back in early 90s.
Okay. So let's run off all the Heisman Trophy winners and see how successful all the Heisman Trophy winners have been in the NFL. I can tell you there's been a whole lot more that haven't been successful in the NFL that have won Heisman trophies than those that have.
I listen to your show all the time, and you guys are stumbling here because you're burying.
How am I stumbling? I haven't stumbled over anything.
Look, coordinator doesn't even have any credentials.
Listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He won 5 bowl games as a head coach at California, and he lost 3. There's your answer. He was at 82-57 overall record at with California from 2002 to 2012. Does that now make you happy?
No, he stinks.
Why does he stink?
Let me ask you a question, okay? And let's chillax for a second.
And if you know who Aaron Rodgers is, then you would know that he played for Jim Tedford in California.
I just said I did.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay, but you're saying that Jim Tedford's not successful in college, but would you not say that he's been able to work with quarterbacks that have been successful?
I guess you can work with them if he has them come over to their house, has dinner. You work at his desk and, go to school and work at the office. Yeah, you can work with them. I can work with a college quarterback. Doesn't make me any successful person.
Listen.
You can work with a college quarterback.
You're right, I can because I'm a coach. But listen, here's the thing, okay?
You are?
Yes, I am. Excuse me?
What's your record?
Let me ask you a question. Okay. Okay. Have you ever coached football at a setting higher than, I don't know,
anywhere?
Pee-wee flag football?
Listen,
yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Okay, okay. As a coach, moving up into the pros, you set your offense the way you want to. You pick the players to fit your scheme. Jeff Tedford has a pro-style offense, one where the quarterback stays in the pocket and hits Mike Evans and hits Vincent Jackson. That is not an offense for Johnny Manziel.
Well, here's one thing I want to throw out there, too, and you want to say how successful he is. When Jim Tedford took over the University of California program in 2002, California had not had a winning football team since 1993. For 10 years. His first year with California, he brought them to a 7-5 record, their first winning football season in almost 10 years. Okay? The year after that, then he also ended up being beat University of Southern California in 2003, who ended up being co-champions of college football that year. In 2004, his third season there, they finished number 9 in the country with a 10-2 record. I mean, don't tell me that this guy can't be a winner, okay? I mean, you got to also be limited. There's 290 some odd college football teams out there. Only one can be a national title, and you can see especially over the last few years, only the top players go to a lot of the same schools. It's hard when you're coaching at the University of California as opposed to coaching at, say, Alabama, where you can get anybody anytime you want. When you're at California, you're still competing against UCLA, USC. You are third choice if you're lucky to get recruits. And the fact that you can be successful with that ought to say something. Aaron Rodgers is one of the players that he worked with. It was played for him at California. I think that's pretty darn successful. When he was at Fresno State prior to that, he worked with Trent Dilfer, Billy Volek, Ron Rivers, Reggie Brown, Michael Pittman.
Trent Dilfer was horrible.
But he won a Super Bowl, didn't he? Isn't your whole point about if anybody's won anything? So Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Does that not mean anything? So who's contradicting themselves now?
Best coach was John Gruden. You let him go.
Who's contradicting themselves now? Did Trent Dilfer win a Super Bowl?
Trent Dilfer was horrible.
Did he win a Super Bowl? Did Trent Dilfer win a Super Bowl?
He was great for that 1 year.
Did Trent Dilfer win a Super Bowl?
I just said he was great for 1 year.
Okay, but your whole point is you keep asking me about whether or not somebody won something or not, and then when you point out how horrible somebody is, and I tell you that they actually won something, all of a sudden it doesn't matter.
You being a coach, what have you won?
I'm not a coach. You're talking to me. I'm not the coach.
Well, you said somebody just shouted out there a coach.
Okay, listen. Who is your team? What team do you praise and root for?
I like the Jets.
Okay, how many Super Bowls?
I could tell by the accent.
How many Super Bowls has Rex Ryan won as a head coach with the Jets?
0.
Thank you.
The point is that, and look, we can have this debate all you want about whether or not John.
You didn't make a point. You asked a question. You said okay.
Okay, listen. So your point was how many how many championships did Jeff Tedford win? The answer was 0. So when we take your point as a now pro coach, he stinks because he hasn't won a championship. But wait a minute. I'm explaining my point.
He's known for something in football. He's a great defensive coordinator.
Yes, and how many
as a head coach? But your guy has nothing.
But you know what? Here's the thing, though. Jeff Tedford has 0 kaput. He won 5 bowl games, and let me tell you something. He hasn't won a national champion. He hasn't won a national championship. He hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. Rex Ryan hasn't won a Super Bowl either. Does that make him a bad coach?
No one's going to win. No one's going to win a national championship at the University of California. They're just not. But the fact is, they were a losing program consistently and deeply for years prior to him taking over that program. And he left that program with an 82-57 overall record and 50-45 record within that conference of the Pac-12. I think that's pretty impressive. In finishing in the top 25 in 5 of those years. That's pretty good.
Okay, let me ask a question. So let's switch this to something that's just happening now. You got basketball. You got Mark Jackson just got fired from the Warriors, and he's been a successful coach. You had Mike Woodson up in Knicks. He was successful. He had a winning record. How many winning record coaches are there that are successful? But all the shits, they're terrible.
That's right. But you know what? You have to know.
I think he's talking about Urban Meyer.
Well, no, I don't know how he transitioned to basketball, but I'm gonna try to answer the question. Listen, you got to understand. You have to admit that a lot of stuff is also situational. Okay, you can only coach what you can coach and what's put in front of you. The fact that Mark Jackson got fired from Golden State, that's Golden State's mistake right there. There were issues outside of just the coaching aspects that there apparently was going on internally, and that had something to do with it as well. Okay. And everybody you can tout and say like a guy like a Phil Jackson, greatest head coach in NBA history. But at the same time, Phil Jackson was also very smart. He took jobs that he knew he could be successful in, and he stayed away from the jobs he wasn't so sure he could be successful in. That's why this whole deal with the New York Knicks, he didn't really take over the coaching job, did he? No, he took over the presidency. And so if things, I guarantee you, if things start to get a little bit better, he may jump in there and start coaching that team and take them over and then start to look good again. That's the one drawback I've had about Phil Jackson I'm not dismissing the fact that he is a good coach, because he is. He's always found a way to make players around him win, especially when you had heated situations like with Shaq and Kobe. He made those situations work. But at the same time, he is also very fortunate to have had the players that he had playing for him. Obviously Jordan and Pippen and Cartwright and guys like that, and then you got Kobe and Shaq and all that supporting cast there too. So he's also been very fortunate in circumstance. He's the circumstance that he's been put in. If you want to go back to coaching, let's bring it back to the NFL.
Oh, I can do that right now.
What about Lovie Smith? What has he won lately?
Lovie Smith actually was one of the longest tenured coaches. Stayed with the Chicago Bears for 9 years in the NFL. That's a lifetime.
What did he win?
He went to a Super Bowl. He didn't end up winning the Super Bowl, but he was facing a guy called named Peyton Manning. So that's
right. And he was also facing a guy. Whoa!
Did I mean Lovie Smith is a loser?
No.
We have a loser for a head coach?
No.
Okay.
That's not what I said.
Okay.
No, I didn't say that.
All right.
You're turning words against me.
I am the moderator of this damn conversation. Now listen, John, you said, okay, that how many coaches with winning records have ended up being garbage, correct?
What's Lovie Smith's record?
Okay.
Lovie Smith has a winning record.
Yes, and so does the man. So does the man that beat him that year in that Super Bowl, Tony Dungy, who was fired from the Bucs. Was the only coach ever fired from the Bucs, getting consecutive winning records. And Tony Dungy won 2 Super Bowls.
Lovie Smith's winning record, by the way, was 81-63.
I bet it's average.
It's average.
Average.
He's been in the league 107 years.
Oh, is that right? 107 years, right? I don't think so. 81-63 is
that's actually pretty damn good.
Pretty good for NFL.
And he has one Super Bowl appearance.
And what's your point?
How many does Rex Ryan have?
Rex Ryan has 0, but you probably think he's a great coach, right? I would agree he is.
I said at the beginning, Rex Ryan is an average coach.
Okay, I mean, I don't particularly like the Jets one iota, but I have a lot of respect for what Rex Ryan's able to do. The fact that he was able to take that crap team to an 8-8 record last year is also a telltale sign that you probably have a pretty good coach. That team never had.
We had a pretty good team. It was better than the Bucs, and they stink every year.
Well, they were better by.
Oh, really? They
were
stink
better
every
than
year?
They were better than the Bucks by a bad penalty call. But you are correct. They did win that game. But on paper, I don't think anybody thought the Jets were going to win more than 4 games last year. They won 4 games that they probably shouldn't have.
Still, we're a 500 ball club. While Tampa Bay has been losing for the last 7 years.
Well,
they stink.
You're right. There's no one's going to argue.
No
that.
one's arguing with you.
Indians of the NFL.
No one's arguing with you about that. But they still have just as many Super Bowls as the New York Jets, don't they? New York Jets, and you probably weren't even alive when the New York Jets won a Super Bowl. Were you even alive when the New York Jets won a Super Bowl?
Well, my mom was.
Oh, well, I was at least live when the Buccaneers won a Super Bowl.
Happy Mother's Day, by the way.
Yes, and Happy Mother's Day to your mother. But, so, you want to make all these arguments, but you're overlooking your own argument, and you're trying to say that I'm contradicting myself when actually the only person contradicting themselves is you. I
said you guys should have drafted Johnny Manziel because you need a dynamic quarterback. And your college coach is crap.
We don't know that he's crap because this is his first offense coordinator job in the NFL. So the jury's still out. We don't know yet. But we also don't know about Johnny Manziel.
No.
Okay, I'm not saying that he can't be successful. That's not at all what I'm saying. I don't think that he was going to fit into what the Bucs need for a quarterback. I don't think that the quarterback the Bucs needed was actually even in this draft, which is simply why they signed Josh McCown for 2 years, because they probably have their eyes on a couple other guys that are going to be coming out within the next couple years. We've had
Michael Vick. Michael Vick would have been better in this.
Michael Vick is horrible. He is not a good quarterback, and that's why you got him as your backup quarterback. So don't.
That's because we have Geno Smith, and he went 8-8 last year. What if
Geno Smith went 8-8, or Geno Smith went 8-8, or did the New York Jets go 8-8? Because I didn't see Geno Smith doing a whole lot of successful things last year.
He had for a rookie quarterback. He had a decent year. Are you kidding me?
How did he have a decent year?
Did he guide the Jets to an 8-8 record?
No, he did not. They got an 8-8 record despite him. He had a 66 passer rating, 12 touchdowns and 21 interceptions.
That's awful.
You want to tell me that's good?
Seriously? I didn't say it was good. I said he had a 500 record.
He didn't. They didn't win because of him. They won in spite of him. I mean, honestly, you want to talk about how they beat the Buccaneers last year? Well, the reason they beat the Buccaneers last year was not because of Geno Smith. It was because we got a stupid 15-yard penalty to put them in field goal range to win the game at the end. The Jets won 3 games that way alone. And the Jets won 3 games that way alone, and it wasn't because of Geno Smith. It was because of their defense.
How many games did Buccaneers win last year?
You're right. I'm not going to argue about how many wins they won, but I'll take. But if you want to talk about what quarterback numbers, I'll put up Mike Glennon's numbers against Geno Smith's any day.
And then you guys go and trade for offense player because you guys thought you were going to the Super Bowl. You paid him $16 million like a bunch of fools.
Who?
And now you traded him and got rid of them. And then they got nothing.
And we didn't just get nothing for him. We didn't get nothing for him. We got draft picks for him. And he wasn't going to fit into the defensive scheme that they ran into. Don't hate because you lost him.
The best cornerback in the game is not going to fit in a defensive scheme. Are you nuts?
I'm not nuts because it's very true. And
here's the thing, and going back to me being a coach, I apologize for cutting you off, Scuba, but being a coach, you have a set scheme, offense and defense. And let me tell you, for the defense that I have drawn up in my own playbook myself, Darrelle Revis would not fit. He would not fit. Sorry.
I guess that's why you coach flag football.
Wrong. Really, I coach flag football. I coach high school football. I was approached by Jeff Gooch, the VP of football operations for the Tampa Bay Storm, as to be an intern coach over there. So really, I think I coach a little higher than flag football, sir.
Water bottles and working for free?
You got to get your start somewhere.
All coaches work for free, sir. At some point in their careers, they work for free.
Being a clipboard holder makes you a
clipboard holder? That just shows you know absolutely nothing about anything.
Do you think they were going to use your plays?
Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. When the school used my playbook that I'd drawn up. Oh, that's right. We went 7-3. How's that for you?
They didn't mention your name in the paper, did they?
Let's see. Offensive coordinators and passing game coordinators and offensive line coaches and assistant coaches don't get inserted into the paper, sir.
Oh, so you have no recognition whatsoever for your team's success.
What's your recognition in football?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, I couldn't tell you on. I mean, I'd have to get out my archives and look.
Oh, yeah, because I'm sure you've done so much. Let me ask you a question, really. So if I Google your name, you'll come all over. Oh, greatest coach in the world, John, yeah. Oh, yeah, 4 Super Bowl wins, 5 bowl wins, 2 national titles in college football.
I bet if you Google my name, you'd be like, oh, my God, I can't believe it's you.
Okay.
Well,
what's your last name? You can, Facebook me, tweet me. So you don't have to say it over air unless you're comfortable with saying it on air. I'd love to Google you.
You want to Google me?
I would love to Google you.
All right. L.
Okay.
O.
Yeah.
G.
You do realize that I've known who this is for about the past 15, 20 minutes, right?
And you're over here acting like a damn fool.
Oh, I'm acting like a fool. You're sitting here arguing with me, Mr. LaGrasso, about football. You have not done anything in football. You have wrestled. You have wrestled and wrestled. You have never done anything related to football. I have done more. I have won more games as a coach, and I've won more games as a player. And you're sitting here arguing with me about football, something that I clearly know more than you.
What's the first thing I told you? Never brag about your accomplishments, haven't I?
He has to that. And honestly, I knew who this was too. As soon as when the accent started to really kick in, it was pretty clear who it was.
And and you guys got heated because I was throwing some damn good stuff at you.
You were not. You couldn't even back any of it up. It was fun, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Because here's the thing: is like seriously, and what bothered me the most is
seriously, you guys had a good draft. I watched the whole draft. I think passing on Manziel, he really wasn't shouldn't have went. He went where he was supposed to. I think you guys.
What the hell, man?
You play the heel to the best.
You do.
Let me tell you.
That's why I'm one of the best in the business.
That's true.
I stole your emotions once again, fellas.
Well, you got him more than you got me.
Oh, I got really because when someone I take coaching extremely seriously, and when someone starts nudging at that, I get really into it.
I know. That's why you still live at home with your mom and go to proms and you write selfies on Facebook.
That's right, man. I was hitting those after parties till about 5 o'clock this morning, still wearing the tie.
Oh boy.
Oh really? And how far was it from your house? Down the street. Your mom ain't letting you go out nowhere.
I think she doesn't know.
Yeah, when she finds out,
she'll get really mad.
Well, hopefully you'll get a phone call in the next 5 minutes.
All right. Anything else, John?
I think the Jets had a good draft. I think Tampa had a good draft. I think everybody who passed on Manziel, they passed on him because they didn't want a circus. Yep. I think Dallas really wanted him because they know Romo's not going to be able to go a full year.
Agreed.
That team that's going to need a quarterback. I think some of the quarterbacks were overrated. And I think that if you're looking at IQ and ability, I think Manziel ranks up there 1-2. But if you're talking about keeping a low profile and keeping things like the way you want in your pro athletes, quiet, business-like, go to work, no problems, Manziel is definitely not your guy.
No,
and just on another note, I think it was the Rams who drafted the gay football player.
Michael Sam, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I have nothing against any of that stuff because, you have a lifestyle, you do it. But I think showing it on TV, the kiss, the cake, the crying and all that, it took away from him signing, because when Jason Collins signed with the Nets, it was just, hey, I'm gay, and then that was it.
Mm-hmm. This
guy went overboard, and he made the NFL look like a showboat. They will never draft another gay player again because of what happened. Well, he should have just said, thank you very much, hugged his partner, and that's it. High five the whole room, and that's it.
Well, I don't know, because if that had been a female and it had happened, I don't think you would be saying the same thing, because they should...
No, you got to understand something. It's still a business.
Yeah.
And everybody likes to see the female thing, but you got to realize it's a man's sport. And I'm not taking anything away from women, but guys watching on Sundays, guys, watch this, and then, how many people are perturbed by this now?
Yeah.
Because, kids watch it, kids look at it, say, hey, mommy, look at that, daddy, look at that. Seeing two females, kids, is feminine, and they just say, oh, they're sisters. What do you say when these guys are hugging and slobbering and put cake down their throats. What are they, brothers?
I don't know. Well, you're entitled to your opinion, Vito, and we understand. So,
excuse me, John.
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 But well, listen, we have to take a quick break here. We're up against it, and we got another guest coming on. So, I appreciate the banter and keeping us on our toes this morning or this afternoon. Now, I guess.
All right, guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, we appreciate it.
Football forever. I'll talk to you guys later.
Take care.
All right.
Damn him, man! What the hell?
When I really started hearing the accent, I started to wonder, and I had a sneaking suspicion. That's why I was like, I saw. Then you started getting all emotional. I was just trying to wave you down to let you know, and you finally caught on yourself. So I kind of figured it out, but I couldn't say 100% because he usually calls on a different line.
Yeah.
So for all you that don't know, that was Big Vito LaGrasso. WWE, ECW wrestling superstar, friend of the show, and he decided to play heel with us this morning and try to put one over on us. So clearly,
he won.
He
didn't win the argument, but he ultimately won playing the heel.
He did. So he
got me really testy. So, my God.
But we do have actually, we're hoping it's going to happen. We got former NFL quarterback Jeff Carlson calling in here in a few minutes. We had him on the show a few weeks ago. He has gladly accepted to call us back now that the draft has occurred, and we did speak specifically about Manziel and stuff with him, and turns out he may have been right. So we'll take a few minutes and I'll let Zach follow up with him, and hopefully we'll hear from him in just a little bit. We're going to take a quick break.
Yeah, we will hear from him just in a few minutes. He just texted me and said that we're all set. Good. And when we come back from break, it will be him.
Cool.
Michael G. Butash, attorney at law, is a former state prosecutor with substantial experience in handling all criminal and DUI matters. When you are facing charges, you want someone who aggressively defends cases ranging from minor traffic infractions to serious violent first-degree felonies. Call attorney Butash and together you'll discuss your case in person or by phone. He accepts most major credit cards and also offers payment plans. Call attorney Michael G. Butash today for your initial free consultation.
That's right. I know that had nothing to do with anything other than that was the team that had the most drafted players. That was Florida State University.
I always love listening to it.
Joining us this time, former NFL quarterback coach, one of the greatest coaches I have ever worked with, Coach Jeff Carlson. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing right. How are you doing, Zach?
Oh, fantastic.
Morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good morning. What's going on?
Not much. Appreciate you calling in. So we talked about this a few weeks ago about this quarterback class, and I think you shed a lot of light on it, and I think we were all in agreement that this was not although it was a deep quarterback class, none of them were really, for lack of a better term, maybe first round quality, if you will. I think the draft almost panned out that way. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I do. And I was just talking recently about Blake Bortles and going number 3, and I have no problem with him going that high in the draft, especially with a team that needs leadership at that position. You know, they went with Blaine Gabbert a few years ago, and I think it was pretty easy to see that he wasn't going to be that guy. But Blake Bortles at least possesses the potential to be that guy.
Correct.
And his, size, speed, and athleticism. So I don't have a problem with that. The other guys, all fell below that. And Johnny Manziel offers excitement. He offers, chance to get the fans excited. He's going to have some splash plays, some really exciting plays, and he's going to have a lot of negative plays, I think, until he learns to play football within the system and throw the ball. I think John Gruden pointed it out a few times. He's got to throw the ball on time. He created his own problems a lot of times by not throwing it to the open guy and always trying to, or at least most of the time, trying to make some kind of magnificent big play instead of just playing football. When he figures that out, he could be a very effective guy.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. In fact, the one thing that came out, actually, I don't know how it was leaked or what have you, but was the New England Patriots scouting report on Manziel. I don't know if you had a chance, if you had seen that or not, or had a chance.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
Basically, it's the actual scouting report, and it's out there. You can actually Google it. It's been made public, and about their reservations and so forth. And it basically, I'm going to try to find it here specifically, but it essentially references how. Pretty much what you just said. He's going to make some exciting plays, but he's going to make some bonehead plays on top of it. And it was, for most part, was not overly favorable, and it was. I found it quite interesting. So, whether or not.
Well, I was just going to say, it gets pounded into our heads that it's only a couple of plays that make the difference in an NFL football game. And one boneheaded play, two boneheaded plays in a football game out of 60, 70, 80 plays, and you lose the game because of it, it overshadows the 6 or 7, super cool dipsy doodles and run out of problems and then complete a pass, but it may not win the game. But 2 boneheaded plays can certainly lose you a football game. So it doesn't weigh out, and that's why you got to have Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, making all those decisions. Because think about Peyton Manning a few years back, throwing an interception against the Saints that helped propel them to that Super Bowl win. And it doesn't take much from the quarterback position. That's the most important position because you have the ball in your hands and you have the ability to lose a game on a single throw. So that's why Manziel and so many other teams, held off, and the Browns got him at 22.
Who in fact actually passed on him on a couple other occasions when they had a chance to take him sooner. I did find the report, and I'll hit the highlights of it. I don't need to read the whole thing, and you could probably shed more light on it because I'm sure you've seen these things before. But basically, let's see, we go right here where right-handed quarterback, good balance, leaves feet and snaps hips, upper body through when throwing deep. When having a really good rip into tight spaces, won't always set feet, will jump off his back foot, will spray the ball at times. Overall has good accuracy, good deep ball, flashes touch underneath, but is a risk taker that will trust his arm to force throws. So much of production is outside of the pocket, which I mentioned. His arm strength and accuracy is consistent on the move. Eyes constantly are downfield. Has a very good feel for pressure. His first instinct is to bail out of the pocket backwards and find room while his wide receivers are under cover. Rarely works through full field progression, usually gets the third option and takes off. Rarely hits the check down. Once the big play, will make a couple of boneheaded decisions every game, but also makes very game-changing explosive plays with every exposure. That's the player summary. In the player future, in the NFL, a starting quarterback for a handful of teams in year one obviously won't fit into every club's offense, and for traits for the position are highly questionable, but for some club, he could take a chance early on his athleticism, speed, and playmaking ability. Relative to RG3, Manziel is more elusive, but not quite top-end fast. Griffin throws a better deep ball coming out, more consistent mechanics and arm strength, but Manziel is more accurate in the short and intermediate, better ball security, quicker release, etc., etc. So, basically, and he says he's an upgrade over Tebow, higher ceiling than Hoyer, which is odd, with a stronger arm, good number 2 in year 1 that could back up Tom and develop into a starter. Tom Brady, of course, is who they're talking about. So that was kind of the report.
Well, it says everything you want to say, and it depends on what you want to pick out of it. Do you want to look at the positives or do you want to look at the negatives? And that, you know what I mean, that's what goes into an evaluation. Everything that was said is true. Mm-hmm. And that's why the Cleveland Browns picked them. You know, for me, the Cleveland Browns, you know, they've got the ugliest uniforms in the league.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't have any star power. Josh Gordon's going to be suspended.
Yep.
They don't have anything going for them. So what do? You pick the flashiest player that's going to make the most exciting plays.
Yep.
Now, you're going to win the most games. Well, the Cleveland Browns probably aren't going to win the most games no matter who they pick. Mm-hmm. So why not go with the flashy guy and sell some extra season tickets and get at least some talk going? I mean, the Cleveland Browns are going to sell tickets on the road with Johnny Manziel.
No, they already did.
That he'd be a good backup in number 2 because if you're a backup, you're not playing. You're not affecting the game either way. So what's the difference if you're a number 2 guy? He's a guy that has to be put on the field. That's why I didn't want the Buccaneers to draft him because he's a guy that they need to see. You're not going to, all these people are buying season tickets to watch Brian Hoyer throw the ball again.
Exactly.
I doubt it, right? You got to throw him on. And Josh McCown is a much better quarterback than Johnny Manziel at this point, and I want him to be the quarterback this year. Yep. But if we drafted Manziel, it would have precipitated the fact that we have to put him in the game, and we don't want that. So he can throw the ball extremely well. Mm-hmm. He's a great thrower, but he said he jumps out of there. His first instinct is to back out and run around and find space. Why did the Buccaneers draft Mike Evans? Because of one of those comments. He gets most of his production out of the pocket. That production was to Mike Evans going up and making tall, leaping grabs when Johnny would throw the ball up in the air.
Exactly. There's no question. And the one thing too is that we certainly know that the number 2 jersey will be available in Cleveland since Tim Couch. So all those people with Tim Couch jerseys can now just rip the name Couch off and put Manziel on the back of them. But
they did that. They did that about 5 or 6 years ago. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I know. But you're definitely spot on, and we clearly, I think, understand. Hey, it would be great to have a guy like that. Again, like you said, for just the marketing alone, but that's only going to get you so far. And ultimately, you need a guy that's going to fit into your system and be your long-term solution. I didn't see that being the case for the Bucs, and that's why when they kept saying, "Oh, they're interested in him," well, of course they're interested in him. A lot of people are interested in him. Doesn't necessarily mean he's the solution. And I didn't believe he was the solution then. I certainly don't believe it now. And I think we went in the right direction. McCown's not the answer for the long term. I think we all understand that, and so do the Bucs, which is why they signed him for 2 years. Who knows, outside of the Mariota and the Winstons, what other quarterbacks are going to pop up in the next couple years that might be coming out? The argument can be had that the Bucs are hopefully not going to be in a position where they're going to draft this high again. That's fine. If there's any proof that you don't have to get a quarterback in the first round, there's plenty of teams out there that can show you that that's the case.
No doubt. And, he's a great football player. And to make the point, Tim Tebow was a great football player.
Yep.
But it didn't mean his game translated to the NFL as a passer. Now, Manziel is a passer. He can throw really, really well in the pocket. Yep. He just chooses potentially not to read the defense and throw the ball to the open guy on time. But he's a great football player. Mm-hmm. Now, if somebody can harness all that excitement, Brett Favre was drafted in the second round by the Atlanta Falcons. Mm-hmm. The Atlanta Falcons got rid of that wild child.
Yep.
And they threw him up for a first-round pick up to the Green Bay Packers. And he was still a wild child. And Mike Holmgren tamed the wild child and made him a quarterback and they won a Super Bowl because of it. Johnny Manziel is in that mold.
Right.
He's a wild child. Does he get with the right coaching staff that can tame him and make him play the game that he needs to play to win games in the NFL? Mm-hmm. If he does that, he becomes a great player. If he doesn't, he'll fizzle out as well.
Yeah, and I think also having him in a place like Cleveland is beneficial as well. I mean, as far as you're not going to, I don't know enough about Cleveland, but how much trouble can you really get in at Cleveland? I'm just, in other words, if he had gone to a team in like a Los Angeles or New York market, would a lot of that stuff from a couple of years ago rear its ugly head again and affect him? Like you were talking about Brett Favre. I mean, how much trouble could a wild child get in Green Bay, Wisconsin? I think that may have had a little bit to do with it too, aside from what Holmgren was able to do with him. So I think environment also has something to do with it. And the last thing we wanted here also was where he could just go a couple blocks down the road and get himself into trouble, if you know what I'm saying. So
don't discount Cleveland as a place that you can get into trouble. It ain't that small of a town.
Well, that's why I said I don't know enough about it.
If you want trouble, you can darn well find it in any town you want. We're talking about on field. I'm talking about on the field.
Right.
He either has to grow up and get out and stay out of trouble or not. I mean, Jameis Winston, Tallahassee, Florida, is not the be-all, end-all of excitement.
Correct.
But Jameis Winston is finding trouble. Right?
Well, that's true.
That reminds me.
Well, that's the other microcosm.
It has nothing to do with it. That environment has nothing to do with it. You can find trouble in Green Bay, Wisconsin, or Cleveland, Ohio. On the field, he's got to play the game of football at a higher level than running around and finding all those things that he did against BYU or other teams where that the highlights come from. It's different in the NFL, and he's got to be able to control the instinct to flee and run around and jump up and jump and spin and do all that stuff. Some of the stuff that made him great, he has to control that so that he can become a more efficient player in the NFL. And not take the hits that he took in college, because he got battered. And in the NFL, those hits are going to be not that they're more hits; they're just going to be harder hits. And he's got to be able to play, today and next week and the week after that. It's a long season.
Yeah, and Jeff, real quick, we were arguing with a caller before named John, and John was saying that he felt that Johnny Manziel was a perfect fit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneer offense that Jeff Tedford's trying to run. What are your thoughts?
Well, now we know he was.
How in the world would John or anybody else know what kind of offense Tedford is going to run?
That was kind of our
point. We don't know what Tedford's going to do.
We don't. You're absolutely correct. That was kind of one of our points. I mean, this is all a wait and see. I mean, there's only, outside of the people there's only a handful of people that have even seen anything yet, and and those are some of the select even media personnel that have even had a chance to go to these OTAs. And really, honestly, what are you even getting out of those? You're still vanilla. You're still running vanilla stuff, and you're not really showing anything. So you're right. You're absolutely correct, Jeff. We don't know what's going to happen.
How often is Jeff Tedford going to be under center? How often is he going to be in the shotgun? How often is he going to use 3 wide receivers? How often is he going to use 4? Does he like a tight end in 3rd and 7?
I think
does he even put a tight end on the field, or does he put 2 tight ends on the field in 3rd and 7? We don't know anything about Jeff Tedford's offense to say that any particular person fits into that offense. I think they got Josh McCown almost before they got Tedford. You know what I mean? It was like they found Lovie Smith had the experience with Josh McCown. And they know he's a very athletic quarterback, good size, and he was very productive with the Chicago Bears last year.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean he was Jeff Tedford's best answer and who he wanted to play quarterback for him. So all these pieces have to come together. We don't know if it was Johnny Manziel would be perfect or Blake Bortles.
Right.
We don't know at this point. Or is it Josh McCown, the very best potential quarterback in his system? I don't know.
Yeah, I do think we're starting to get an idea, though, possibly of what they're looking to do, because I found it surprising. Well, first of all, our 2nd-round pick was a 6'6" tight end, which is I had him rated higher than Ebron from North Carolina. This kid from Washington is something else, and so now we've got 2 6'5" receivers, now a 6'6" tight end. So you ask if they might like a tight end on 3rd down. I think there's your answer. But then I found interesting their 3rd-round pick being that running back from West Virginia. Now he's not just a running back. He's kind of like a Shane Vereen of the New England Patriots, where you can split this guy out, and that could be your slot type receiver / running back, or your third down option. So maybe we do kind of have an idea where he might be going with this offense, the things he's going to do, maybe more of a spread type deal. I don't know, Jeff, maybe you have a little bit more insight in that kind of thing than I do, but that's kind of what I'm seeing.
The answer is the exact same answer that we just had about Johnny Manziel fitting into the system. We have no idea what he wants to do with them, but they drafted him. They took a third-round pick, a pretty high rated pick, and drafted the guy. So they have some interest in making him something. Whether you use him in motion and create mismatches and use him out of the backfield, maybe, but who knows? We're all gonna have to wait.
Yeah, because we clearly were in need of a guard or some kind of awesome offensive line position at that time, and to choose a position that, for all intents and purposes, the Bucs are fairly deep at, the one position they are deep at. So at the time, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But then when I really started to kind of look at it and analyze it a little bit more, I really saw that who they drafted, he's a little bit more than just a running back. He's a diverse type of player, so they may have some different plans other than just as a running back. So I'm getting a little bit more excited. I hate the fact that we got to wait a few more months to find out, but we'll have to see.
That's exactly it. We all have to wait and see, but I think they're a team that put themselves in position to be competitive week in and week out, and that's the most important thing. Is just be there in the fourth quarter. It's the old Tony Dungy philosophy, which is Lovie Smith has something similar, and that's be there in the fourth quarter, and then hopefully you outlast them or you make a play that wins the football game. And I think the Buccaneers have made themselves a solid team that can do that.
Yeah, no question. My thought about it, though, I think what's going to hurt the Buccaneers is not going to be the talent so much as that the schedule that they have, not necessarily who they're playing, but how and when they're playing these teams. I've looked at the Buccaneers schedule. They actually, them and the Pittsburgh Steelers are actually getting a schedule that's almost unfair. They're facing, I think, at least 3 opponents. They're going to have, I think 10 of their 16 opponents are going to be facing them with 7 or more days worth of rest when they do play them. The Buccaneers have 1 point on their schedule where they play 3 straight road games, which is absolutely unheard of in the NFL. So I'm more worried about that aspect of it as opposed to the talent on the field. That's where my concern comes from. So it's going to be definitely a year of tests, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what the road of the NFL and the road to the Super Bowl is for everybody. You point out some good points. 3 games in a row on the road. Sometimes a coach can use that to solidify a team. Against the world, and look what they did to us, and here we. And then all of a sudden they put 3 in a row on the road together, and you never know. They go out there and play games. It happens. But again, if they're just a solid football team that plays great defense, this year is the year where the turnovers fall their way, and everything falls and they go to the playoffs. And if it doesn't, they don't. But it's the first year of a new team and a new system trying to come back 4 and 12 years. So, like you said, it's a tough schedule. The NFL is a tough place to play and try to be successful.
Yeah, no question. I think the statistics are definitely against them. I also don't think that anybody really believes that this team's going to be in the thick of things this year. But with all these things that we just mentioned, this could be what the year after. This could be something that helps them to build for the year after.
Yeah.
How to grow on how, like you said, maybe they learn to win these 3 games on the road, or they win 2 out of 3, which would be, phenomenal. These are the kinds of tests, though, even if they don't win these tests, they learn the adversity of them to help them move into the next year after, and maybe that's where they really kind of come together, because that's almost kind of what happened when Tony Dungy took over the team in 95 or so. They started off really bad. They had a lot of tests and a lot of things that weren't going right, but then they started learning from those things, and boom, they ended the season phenomenal, and then the winning started, the next year after that, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I don't have a high expectations for this coming year. I expect them to be at least competitive, like you said. My expectations are the year after and so forth down the road.
Probably what Lonnie Smith and Jason Light and the guys over there are thinking as well.
Yep, no doubt about it. Listen, Jeff, we are up against the clock here. I do appreciate you calling in as always, and perhaps we'll, as the season gets closer, we'll have you on again. That sound good?
Sounds great.
And Jeff, also, when you get a head coaching job somewhere, don't forget to hire me.
Well, you're going to be waiting a long time, I'm afraid. my name's not going in too many hats. So the chances of me doing that are pretty slim. So I think you're going to be waiting if you're waiting for my phone call on that.
All right, Jeff. Well, listen, thanks again for the call. We'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, Jeff Carlson, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, NFL quarterback, and current quarterbacks coach locally here in the area. So is Fernando still on the line there, Zach?
Because I'm about to be on a radio show.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah, I think he is.
Fernando, are you here?
He's on there. He's talking to somebody.
I know. Who's he talking to? Fernando.
He's telling somebody that he's going to be on. No.
It's Zach.
Yes, it is Zach. Fernando.
I'll be on it every week for him.
Fernando.
Maybe every week if you get on the phone.
Fernando Malacode. Okay, forget it.
Well, he's selling our show to somebody, so just shut up and let him do it. We'll talk in the meantime. He's got to get on real quick, though, because we are up against it. So we didn't really get to break down the draft as much as I would have liked, but, we got months to do that. So is he ready?
I think he's finally ready. Fernando, are you with us?
Hello?
Fernando.
Hello? Hello? Okay. Well, you keep working on that one, Zach, and I'll continue to follow through here. So, we didn't get to break down all the draft. Obviously, we got distracted by John, the caller.
That guy.
Took us out of our being able to break down everybody, but...
my fault.
Okay.
My fault. Okay, here we go.
All right.
For the third time, Fernando, welcome to the 2 Cent Sports and Entertainment Show. What do you want to talk about?
I'll talk about the Johnny Manziel thing.
Oh God! Here's the thing. I'm not downgrading you at all for talking about Johnny Manziel, but that is the one man in football I'd just love to hit in the face because I know I can knock him out.
I'd rather talk about Sammy Watkins though because he's a wow.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. He's someone that I'd look up to because he knows what he's doing out on the field.
Yeah, that's true. And I think I think the Buffalo Bills was a great fit for Sammy Watkins. You have Mike Williams on one side, Sammy Watkins on the other. The Bills drafted some offensive linemen to protect E.J. Manuel.
They traded for Bryce Brown.
They did.
Running back,
even though I didn't understand.
The Bills, I think, can compete this year with the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat maybe the Jets and the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're definitely making a run at it. Defensively, they're right there. Mario
Williams.
No, he's not with them anymore.
He can maybe have a big year,
but he's not. Well, he could come back. I don't. They should keep him. I'm not sure, but they solidified their offensive line. Get a little bit of help to protect E.J. Manuel. Being a Florida State guy, I saw enough of E.J. Manuel. I never trusted him then. I still wouldn't trust him now. That would, for me, still be a question mark. But they definitely, getting Watkins, they got some receivers out there. You're going to put him with Stevie Johnson. And then you got Mike Williams, of course. I mean, they definitely got the receiving core. You're going to have C.J. Spiller, who hopefully will rebound. And then you got Bryce Brown that can, come in and fill in for him as well. They're definitely made some moves. There's no question.
Definitely.
So let me ask you a question, because I asked Jeff Carlson this earlier. We were having an argument with John earlier on the show, and John said that Johnny Manziel would have been a perfect fit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How do you feel?
I don't know, because the only way Johnny Manziel I think could have been good was if he had like a good, strong supporting team. Like the Texans, he could have done good with them because they have a supporting team. But the Browns, I don't think that I think he's going to be a bust in Cleveland, and I don't think he would have been that well in Tampa Bay either.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And the quick answer to that question is we don't really have to worry about it because he's not here.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, what else you got on your mind there, Fernando?
I just wanted to say this. Did you know there was another Watkins in the draft?
Yes.
What?
Like Sammy Watkins had a brother.
Yes.
And got drafted.
That is correct.
Yesterday in the 4th round by the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, when my dad told me that, I was extremely shocked.
I had no idea.
Yes, he's very correct. Yes, I actually did know that. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a brother. And he was a defensive back, not a wide receiver.
That's correct. You know, when you can't...
And he went to Florida, not Clemson.
That is also correct. Yeah. When you can't catch, you play defense. That's what
those that can't do, they teach.
And when you can't run, you play offensive line.
Hey, I ran a 5 flat the first time I ran my 40-yard dash.
5 flat feet. But if there was a cheeseburger at the end of that finish line, and you'd have gone about a 3.5.
Ha.
I was the one holding that cheeseburger.
Yeah.
That's why I believe it. To get that vertical jump, you just put it up on a pole. And
Look, just because Fernando can run like a 4.6 doesn't mean that I'm not quick myself.
Well, yeah, if there's food on the other end, you're quick. I saw you tried to inhale my daughter's birthday cupcake yesterday. I saw how quick you could be.
Sure did.
Really? Seriously, Zach?
Yep.
They tasted good.
I got a picture of it on our Facebook page.
I'm actually putting it up right there. There it is, so you guys can see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty bad. Anyway, Fernando, we are at the end of the hour. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm fine.
All right, man. Well, hey, as always, we appreciate you.
Hey, and thanks for promoting the show. I heard you in the background. Hey, I'm going to be on the 2 Cent Show. Hey, it's Zach's show, man.
That's right.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll talk to you again.
Yep.
All right. Take care.
All right. Happy Mother's Day to Mommy Malakote.
All right. I'll tell her.
Goodbye.
Bye.
There you go.
All right, folks. Well, we are up against it. So we didn't get to break down everything like we'd like to, but I did post on our Facebook page, 2 Cent Sports and Entertainment, all the first round picks as they went. I did that live. I kind of put some of it. I put my own little blurbs on there.
Blurb.
Of course, we got several months now before the season starts. So if we can talk a little bit more about it next week and do some of the stuff we missed out on today. And as always, appreciate you listening, tuning in. Great calls as always. Kept it entertaining, that's for certain. Don't hesitate to give us a call. Unlike what Zach pulled, we will, obviously, as you can tell, we'll give you your say as long as you can continue to make a sound argument and keep it cool. We'll keep you on the line as long as we have to. And I think we proved that today. So don't hesitate to give us a call or post on our Facebook page. We're certainly there to get back to you. With that, I will let Zach wrap it up with the sign-outs, and I'll come out, and we'll finish up.
What's awesome about the sign-outs is that is the one part of this show that I just get to go off, and I get to just have a great old time. Here we go. Check us out on the Facebook page, 2 Cent Sports and Entertainment Show. Follow me on Twitter at 2 Cent Zach. Scuba, not with the Twitter. That's okay. I don't think you ever will be. I finally come to that realization. Thank you to our sponsors, Michael G. Butash and Donovan, attorneys at law, former behind Scuba right there. Thank you for Tech and Media Partners. If you need to call them, go ahead and call them, 813-443-8235, or check the website, techmediapartners.com. Website still not up yet. It's okay. That's the website domain will be 2centsports.com. We will let you know when that launches. Okay. That is it. Am I forgetting anything?
I think you got it all. I want to thank our sponsors as well. And if you need to get in touch with them, if you need a good attorney or you need a good tech guy, give it. And you missed all the information we just passed out to you, be sure to get in touch with our show and we'll be able to get that information out to you. But as always, for right now, until football season does start every Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we coming at you live from Talk Watch Studios. For the host behind the screen, Zach, I am your host, Scuba. We're out of here. Have a great Mother's Day. See you.
This program was brought to you by the Internet Broadcasting Organization, setting the standard for new media broadcasting.